When it comes to Batman movies, there are a lot. But when we talk about which is the best, the two same films usually come up: The Batman and The Dark Knight. The Batman, released in 2022, directed by Matt Reeves, was immediately loved by Batman fans due to its incredible take on the character and comics. However, 14 years earlier, a little film from the amazing Christopher Nolan came out, a critically acclaimed movie about a silent guardian,
a watchful protector, a dark knight.
Both these Bat projects are superb on their own, but what happens when we try to figure out which is superior? Join me on this wild adventure, film fanatics, and while we're at it, how about you comment down below which of these films you prefer, and let's get started. Firstly, how will we be comparing the two? We can't just pick one category to judge both films off, since movies consist of so much more than one or two criterias. Basically, I'm going to go over a bunch of different categories, such as comic accuracy, pacing, soundtrack, and much more. Now that we have that clarified, let's move on to the first category. Number 1, acting. Both these films have a rich cast of actors who all sell their performance super well. Heath Ledger even won an Oscar for his portrayal of the Joker. It pains me to put one above the other, but I think the point should go to The Dark Knight here. Christian Bale actually plays Bruce Wayne, unlike Pattinson, and sure, his Batman voice is goofy,
You never give it to an ordinary citizen!
but he does a great job. Colin Farrell as the Penguin is good, but he doesn't get much to do in The Batman, and you kind of have to wait for the Penguin show before you get that S-tier acting. And Aaron Eckhart just plays Two-Face so well. Admittedly, Catwoman in The Batman is much better than in The Dark Knight, but that's just one exception. Finally, Paul Dano does great as the serial killer type Riddler, but man, does Heath Ledger's Joker run circles around everybody in these films. I know this one's highly debated, but I think that The Dark Knight takes the W. Number 2, soundtrack. Alright, the music for these movies rock. Hans Zimmer cooked for The Dark Knight, making this intense, high-paced music that really draws you in when there's an action scene going on. For The Batman, Michael Giacchino blessed us with this absolute banger of a score that fits the slower scenes and the faster action moments. I love both of these, but I gotta give the point to The Batman. The Batman score is just a lot more Batman-esque than The Dark Knight's, even though I do really like them both. Number 3, pacing. Pacing, for those who are unaware, is basically the speed of the film and how it's able to maintain that trajectory until the end. The Batman has a much slower pace than The Dark Knight, which is exhibited by speeding up their opening scenes. Their paces are so different, it's hard to compare them. It's like trying to compare shows and movies. It doesn't really work. But if I absolutely had to pick one, I would choose The Dark Knight. I would only do this because sometimes in The Batman, it feels like certain moments drag on or aren't really necessary to the overall story. Number 4, cinematography. The Batman easily wins, not even in competition. The Dark Knight looks like cardboard compared to this visual masterpiece. This honestly might just be one of the coolest looking films of all time. Number 5, comic accuracy. This is a really hard category to tackle because A, both try to adapt them in a more realistic way, and B, comic accurate is such a dumb phrase. Like 90% of Batman comics are so wildly different from each other that almost everything is accurate to some comics. I want to say The Dark Knight since it adapted more things such as Two-Face, Joker, Batman's fall from grace. But the Batman focuses on a Batman in his early stages, Catwoman, the Penguin's rise, and so much more. This feels cheap, but I really have to give both of them a point here. Kind of goes to show how much more your film will be respected if you actually follow the source material. Number 6, rewatchability. The Dark Knight's fun action and quick pace make it much more easy to rewatch, in my opinion. The Batman is a really cool film, but once all the major twists have been learned, it's difficult to go back and enjoy it. The Dark Knight, however, is one of the movies where I feel like I could watch it 100 times and still not get bored. Number 7, prop adaptations. Okay, that's a confusing name for the category, but basically I'm going to go over things like costumes and locations. Costume-wise, I think they are equal, since the Dark Knight's villains look so much better than the Batman's, but the Batman's suit looks so much more cooler than the Dark Knight's. So, do we have another tie? Well, no, because the Batman's locations, from Gotham City to the Batcave, look so much more accurate and Batman-esque than the Dark Knight's. I know that's more of an opinion thing, but like the Dark Knight's Batcave is like lame. So yeah, the Batman gets the point. Number 8, impact. I know you might say that the impact of a film has nothing to do with its quality, but it kinda does. Like, the whole point of a lot of films is to tell stories that change something. And so if I had to give it to one, it would be The Dark Knight. The Batman was a really cool movie, don't get me wrong. But like, The Dark Knight changed cinema as we know it, and showed DC could rival Marvel with live action films.
And when Iron Man came out, everyone that knew me and loved me said, this will do until The Dark Knight comes out.
So, is that it? Is The Dark Knight better than the Batman? End the video? Goodbye? No. Listen, cinema is an art form consisting of subjective opinions, where sure, you can usually tell when a film is not made as well as another one, but when it comes down to two films that are both expertly made, you can't really put one above the other. A lot of people aren't gonna like this, but everything's opinions. A lot of YouTubers try to state their opinion as fact, but that's not how this medium works. You could claim that if most people enjoy a film, then it's a good film, but that's a fallacy. Personally, I prefer The Dark Knight over the Batman. However, it may be different for you. Subscribe, please. These analytics make me not go to sleep at night. Please subscribe, please, please, please.